It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
Hello, model citizens. Welcome to Humanity Junction and welcome to the next version of the Riverside Transfer 2.0. Tonight, I thought we would get into a little bit of what I'm doing wrong on this layout. One thing that is for sure about YouTube is that if you show one of your projects, guaranteed you're going to get unsolicited advice. And I thought I would beat people to the punch and just review everything that I've already done wrong. So yeah, I know Caboose 121 is saying wrong. I know, rule number one, right? But we're going to talk about it anyway. Before we get into that though, I do want to point out that things with my streaming setup are a little different. You can maybe tell I'm standing tonight. I'm standing because I hooked up my face cam again. So, yep, still have all 10 fingers. And yes, Container Man, I agree. It's my layout. I'm not doing anything wrong. But even though I might not be doing anything wrong, people are still going to tell me that I am doing things wrong or making bad choices. So we're going to talk about some of those bad choices tonight and just get out in front of it. Speaking of bad choices, one of the things I would recommend, if you take off your glasses to lay down in bed for a second, knowing that you're about to get up soon, don't take your glasses and sit them right behind you on the bed. Guarantee you're going to roll over, you're going to snap one of the little arms off of your glasses, and then you're going to have to come down into your train room, pull out some tools, and try and fix your glasses. So I'm happy to say I was able to piece these glasses back together, and I'm noticing as people are making fun of me using power tools, my glasses are an absolute mess. Yeah, we're going to get to a lot of wrong, a lot of incorrect A lot of wasting my time and wasting my money, things that I am doing on my layout by choice. This is like one of the most confusing setups I think I've done. I'm looking at the camera here, but my preview monitor is down there, and my list of incorrect, wrong things that I'm wasting my time doing is way over here. So it's going to be interesting. And as you can see, the lights are kind of down right now, so you can kind of get the, you know, the whole live stream look, but we'll turn the lights on and fix things and get going as well. I do just want to thank Mike from Deep Run Railroad, as people were saying hello, did mention that he used the discount code HUMAN at Iron Planet Hobbies, which gets you a 10% discount and free shipping on almost all of the items. The only thing, there's one manufacturer that isn't covered in that, but most of the other stuff is covered. So while I'm flipping on the lights, I am going to just say a quick thank you to all of the people that support the channel, both individually and sponsorships.
It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
I agree. Turning the lights on does ruin the intimacy, but it also makes it a little bit easier for people to see. So I'm still not really sure where this camera should be pointed. I kind of quickly screwed it into the wall right before the show, and I'm realizing it probably needs to be at minimum turned over this way. Oh, and of course it doesn't want to stay there, but we'll fix that. We'll fix that eventually. Let's go to this camera view right now, though, because this will let us get to our first mistake that I made. So one of the choices, mistakes that I made on my railroad is I decided in my corners that I was going to curve the backdrop, but I was going to leave the bench tops flat, which means that I needed to cut this extra little slot out so that you could slide the bench tops in underneath it. And this gives me kind of a nice little, curve, and, it's a nice look. But I made a slight mistake. You can kind of see there's a little bit of extra space here. Well, when I was cutting one of them, I cut it at the wrong height. So I cut it at 5 inches. I don't know which camera I'm looking at. I'm looking at this camera. So I cut it at 5 inches instead of 5 3/4 inches. And I already had screwed all the backdrops on. If you don't know, my layout is in a very small room. Once I got all the frames attached right now, I'm not getting back behind there anymore. So one of them is the wrong height. I'm going to have to work a little magic, cut it up a little bit differently. So one of the mistakes. What are you going to do? Along those same lines, let's see what people were saying. Along those same lines, one of the other mistakes that I made, this is, I said this once to someone earlier today, cut twice, and it's still too short. I'm using a tape measure made out of a bungee cord, which is giving me the exact measurements that I want, but they're never consistent. Dennis, this is very true. Speaking of workarounds, though, one of the things that I figured out on the third opening that I cut, so there's 3 openings. There's one in this corner, one in that corner, and one in the corner over there, is I figured out that I could attach a straight edge and use the router to make this top edge of the opening very, very flat. And what that enables me to do, obviously, would be to slide the piece of wood underneath. Of course, I did it to the one that I made too short. So all of the rest of these were cut with a jigsaw, so they're all a little jagged. So when I get to installing the benchwork and lining it all up, it's not going to fit. I'm going to have to do a lot of sanding and figure out where to go from there. Measure twice, cut once, make sure your tape measure is not hanging up on the rivet. Have you done that, Container Man? Have you been hung up on something? I did actually. When I cut, there's a piece of background over here that's only 15 inches wide. And when I went to cut it, I said, boy, that sure does look really short. I must be measuring it wrong. So before I cut it, I took the tape measure, pulled it out to 15 inches, measured the piece, measured the opening, measured the piece. It ended up being right, but it just looked wrong. Derek says it's all going to be covered with scenery. So if people don't know by now, is the layout going to be scenic? Yes, the layout will be scenic eventually. Scenery on my list of things that I enjoy doing is very close to the bottom. So I'm going to try and convince other people to do the scenery on my layout for me. I'm going to do all the wiring. I'm going to help other people do the wiring, but we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. I'm sure it all will. It's the building flats are from PGH Train Fanatic, not from Iron Planet Hobbies, but I will be using background flats 100%. Hey, see, look, we got volunteers already helping out with the scenery. So yeah, and I know Dennis likes the scenery. I would love to go to Dennis's layout. He's using LCC, and I would love to wire up someone's layout with LCC. Model Winter dusts the whole layout with powdered sugar. The problem with winter layouts, at least the ones that I've seen, is you really have to then winter scenic the locomotives as well. I mean, you got to put some snow on top of the locomotives. And I saw one layout that did it. It looked fantastic, but I don't know that I want to go through and add snow to all of my rolling stock. But we'll see what happens. So let's see. Okay, so we got done 2 wrongs, and it's 13 minutes after. So I better slow down, or I'm going to run out of things to talk about, and then people are going to tell me what I'm doing wrong, and things will go downhill. So, okay. The second thing that I'm doing wrong is that I decided to paint everything. All my benchwork is painted. And the reason that is wrong is because I'm using acrylic paint. And what's great about acrylic paint is within 20 minutes, the surface of the paint feels basically dry. But it's not actually dry, especially depending on how you've painted it. If you've painted it with a roller, you've got a nice thick layer of paint on there. So it appears dry, but it's not. So what you find out is that you start putting things together that you want to come apart. Like, for example, this leg. I want this leg to be able to come off. But I installed this leg about a day after I painted it. And I tightened up all of the bolts so that leg is on there nice and tight. and there is no way that thing is going to come off again without breaking it off, because the acrylic paint has essentially, moving too fast is wrong. Essentially the acrylic paint is acting as glue. So I don't know that I'm necessarily moving too fast, but I think a lot of people don't paint their benchwork, especially things that aren't going to be seen, right? Nobody's going to see any of this, so why paint it? I mean, you know, I could give you my list of reasons why I painted it, but at the end of the day, whatever reasons I've chosen, the decision was wrong. It was a waste of time. Don't ever paint your benchwork. So if people can't tell by now, I guess the thing that we need to make clear about today is that all of my things that I've done wrong, some of them are things that I've actually done wrong, but like people have pointed out, it's my layout. I'm going to do things the way I want to do them. I may make mistakes. There are always going to be ways to fix them, to alter them. It's a model railroad. I could tear it out and start over, which, you know, this is version 2.0. Hopefully we're not going to get to version 5.0, but, you know, we'll see. So my list is a little bit more of a joke than a reality. Painting this stuff was very important to me. Sealing the wood for many reasons. One, for fire protection, seals the wood when you paint it. Another one is reduction of movement of the wood. I get up to like 80% humidity sometimes in the summer, and it can get really dry in the winter with the radiator. So for me, painting everything just made sense. It was just something that I felt that I should do. So how am I solving my putting things together? Because as you can see, a lot of stuff is already together. The way I solved my putting things together problem is with painter's tape. So what I started doing, and I didn't do it with these two legs, and I actually didn't do it with a bunch of the legs, but I did do it between each of the modules. So the sections of the modules where they all come apart, I put painter's tape on both sides, clamped it together, and then I cut off, you know, around the painter's tape. So if you look close, you can kind of see the painter's tape sticking out from the edge. But what the painter's tape is going to allow me to do is assemble everything, put together all the modules without having to worry about them all sticking together. So, you know, if I have to move the layout, I might have to cut a couple of legs off, but at least I'll be able to get the different sections apart. So Nathan, the reason I might have to take the legs off is that this room is a room that I rent. The apartment I live in is very small. I am very fortunate to be able to work from home. So between the work from home and wanting a space for my model railroad, my girlfriend and I agreed that I could rent a space. So this space is not mine. It's another reason why I built things the way I did here with the backgrounds and stuff. So, you know, nothing's really attached to the wall and everything. The reason I might need to move it is that we may move. The lease on the space may run out, and I may need to get everything out of here. And the way I designed the layout is there are breaks in the track work at the various sort of joints. So I should be able to break the joint basically from this section to this section, cut a couple pieces of track that are in sort of inconsequential places, and separate things out so that I could then move this to another space and either reorient it or put it back together in the same order. So it's funny you say that. I thought about using wax paper. I even have I even have wax paper sitting right up there. And I was going to do that, but the tape is going to work for what I want it to do, and the tape holds itself on as well. So when you apply tape to something, it sticks. Wax paper doesn't stick on its own, and I didn't want to fight with wax paper coming off and on. A couple of these sections, particularly the ones you can't see right now, but that are in front of me, I've taken apart multiple times, and I wanted that flexibility of it just staying in place. Hopefully not in a year. I hope not in a year. Human, you've covered your shelves. Will you be using a spray paint to paint? No. So the reason all the shelves are covered is more for dust. For those that have seen more than just this video, you know there's a lot of trains and small parts and stuff all over, and there is cutting that I'm going to need to do in here. A lot of the cutting was done. Jerry Satz did all of the cutting for the benchwork that you see as it is now. I am going to have to do some cutting, though. I've already had to cut like the backdrops a little bit. There's a seam there. There's a seam right here. So I had to cut this piece. Cutting in this space makes a huge mess. So to limit all of the dust that sits on all of my shelves and all the little things on my shelves, I covered it up. No, tape is a much better solution. So Dennis, if you don't understand the topic of today's video, the point is that you're supposed to tell me that each and everything that I'm doing is wrong. So yes, working from home means that I'm a bum. Yes, it does. Derek, so yes, I work from home in this room. I don't know, can you see it? No, you can't see it. There's a folding chair here. I've got some TV tables there. Right now, I am working off of a TV table and a folding chair. Eventually, I hope to get my computer stuff set up where I'm more able to work in a desk situation again. I used to have a big desk in here, and the only way I was able to build this next version of the layout was to remove the desk. So along this wall here where this is, used to be a big desk that came out to like here, and it took up a lot of the room. So you know, that's kind of thing. Thank you, Russ. I appreciate that. What are the rest of those boards for? So we can go through a little bit of that. One of the next things on my what did I do wrong list, for those of you that are counting, is I think I may have gotten too many legs. When I figured out the legs, extra legs were not something I wanted to have to cut, but I wasn't really sure how many legs I would need. So right now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right now there are 8 legs holding up all of the benchwork. I am definitely going to add a couple of more legs, but I don't know that I'm going to need all of these legs. So James, yes, if you want to come down here and grab some legs, I am more than happy to give you some legs. So I've got extra L-shaped legs. There are legs that are 46 inches, legs that are 47 inches, and legs that are 48 inches. The benchwork over here is 48 inches high. This piece is 46 inches high. This over here that's lower is 47 inches high. So I've got different legs. These extra pieces here, these are my flat legs. As you guys know, I love these little rolling drawers, and I actually got some wheels on these, so now this set rolls really, really well. So in the middle, I didn't want to have big L-shaped legs, so I've got some flat legs, so these will go, you know, like this, so that they can go between the different, basically it keeps my storage a little bit more open. I know, Wigwag, I know. 100% Russ. The YouTube channel don't pay for much. But I love the hobby. I love sharing the hobby, and yes, essentially, work is completely, paying for all of this, essentially. These pieces here, well, there's 4 here, but there should only be 3. I don't know what the 4th is. Subway. I'm not sure what all of these are, but 3 of these are for the subway. There is going to be a subway track that runs along the benchwork down at this level. It is only going to be seen here on this side and here on this side. So these pieces are what are going to attach to the front here and make up the subway. And then I've got these pieces here. These are going to go in the corners. I need to cut an arc out of this so that it is going to then match. I'll cut arcs, so the arc of the subway and then the arc of the benchwork will all match. It'll all be pretty. What other? So this piece here is just the bench top for there. So there's actually 2 bench tops here. One of these actually goes over there, but just for tonight, I just kind of put them over there. I also prefer legs attached to 36 by 24 by 36. Yeah, so I'm gonna add more legs. I just haven't added them yet because I want to be very careful that I'm not putting any legs or any cross pieces where I'm gonna have turnout motors. So the next thing that I really need to do is figure out all of the bench tops so that I can then figure out the, where all the turnout motors and all that kind of stuff are gonna go. But yeah, Heath, rewind. Tell me what we're talking about. 6645. Please hit the like button if you haven't yet. I would appreciate that. Oh, now I get it. 34. Okay. I'm a little slow, but I got it now. I got it. You could probably have a dance party in the layout. This is going to be some pretty beefy stuff. So I'm adding, I'm looking at my list of mistakes that I made. So one of the other mistakes that I made is I've got all of these risers. And what I'm going to do, and this is, all of these risers are Dennis from Otter Creek and Rio Grande's fault. So Jerry, if you're watching this, blame Dennis. But one thing that I'm doing wrong on this layout is I'm using all these risers. The reason that I'm using these risers is to give me space between the bench top and the frame. And what that's going to do is that's going to create enough space for me to put all my turnout motors. It's going to create enough space for all of my wiring. It's going to allow me to cut out sections of this. Over here, there's going to be a car float. So I'll be able to cut a section of this out and then have additional space for scenery. Particularly on this side, I'm going to be doing that, where I'm going to have some scenery that is, deeper than other stuff. So yes, one of the things I'm doing wrong is we're gonna add these risers. So why don't we just get to it? We'll just get to the elephant in the room, and it is the Blame Heath is copyrighted in Canada. Who copyrighted it in Canada? That's what I want to know. Actually, probably don't tell me. I have a feeling I don't want to know. So Ray, on this side of the room over here, it is going to basically be cookie cutter. The rest of this is not going to be cookie cutter, but I'm still going to be lifting it up so that I have the extra space. And this section, it's not going to be completely cookie cutter, but there is going to be a big piece cut out of it for the water scene. So it's not, it's cookie cutter, but it's not cookie cutter for the whole thing. And that's just kind of, yeah, so that's another thing I'm doing wrong. We can talk about that as well. Yes, on this side, where you see the subway station is going to be underwater, which, yes, in reality, it's not reality, but on my layout, it's going to be reality, and people are going to like it. So, yep, it's a mistake. It's something wrong. I'm wasting my time. Exactly, Norman. It's a non-cookie counter. Yes. Around the benchwork. Yeah, exactly. Oh, so what were we going to talk about? These risers. So one of the things what's influencing this week's conversation is the thickness of this plywood. Heath's way is right. If you don't know, go on YouTube and you will find out that Heath's way is wrong. So the thickness of this wood is the same thickness of wood that I'm using for all of my bench tops, right? And I was told that using 3/4 inch wood for my bench top was wrong, a waste of money, and all kinds of other things. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about why I'm using 3/4 inch plywood for my layout. When I originally designed the benchwork for this layout, I had 3 different types of wood. I had the masonite for the backgrounds, I had 3/4 inch plywood for all of the framing, and then I had 1/2 inch plywood for the bench tops. So what happened was when Jerry and I started getting into, so masonite, if you don't know, there are a bunch of different kinds of wood that are, what do you want to call it? Like manufactured wood, right? So plywood is manufactured. It doesn't grow on a tree like this. They take the wood, they cut it in thin pieces, and they glue it back together. So there's 3 other kinds of wood that are similar to whatever. So homosote. Homosote is low density fiberboard, right? It's basically paper glued together. There is medium density fiberboard, which is your MDF that people are familiar with. And then there's high density fiberboard, which is essentially masonite. And there are differences, but in very simplistic terms, and I know people are going to tell me wrong, homosote, MDF, masonite are essentially different pressures of wood that is, pulp, ground up wood particles glued back together. You press it really hard, you get masonite. You press it a little less hard, you get MDF. And you barely press it at all, you get homosode. Container Man is pointing out one of the reasons why I went with 3/4 inch plywood. In order to use pocket holes, if I'm going to screw this into my bench top from underneath, if I had 1/2 inch bench work, I would have very, very little bite on my bench top. So by going to 3/4 inch plywood, it allowed me to get more of a bite into the bench top. So the masonite is attached to the framing, and it is behind the bench tops. The bench tops will be sitting, the 3/4 inch bench tops will be sitting on the risers. Some of the risers will be in this orientation with the pocket hole down, so this will be screwed into the framing. Some of the risers will be pocket hole up, so they're screwed into the bench top. And some of them I'm going to attempt to put a second pocket hole in so that they have pocket holes on both sides. Which, if I thought ahead and didn't do this wrong or incorrectly, I would have thought to have Jerry put the one off center a little bit so it would have been easier to get a second one in. But, I screw things up all the time, so these longer ones are easy because I can just put the pocket hole on the other side. The ones that are shorter, I don't know what I'm gonna do. How am I gonna get a drill in there? Pretty easily. The ones that are screwed to the frames are gonna get screwed down before the bench tops are installed. And to get the ones screwed up into the bench work, I'll just go in from the bottom because the bottom's gonna be open framing. Oh, so let me go back. I forgot to finish. I think that will be harder for you, Heath. I know, James. I know. I'm enabling alcoholism. Yes, I am enabling problems. I do have a right angle drill attachment. It's right here. I have a right angle drill attachment, and I've been using this a lot. So yep. So one of the other reasons I went to 3/4 inch was when I was talking to Jerry, he taught me about this program called Max Cut. What Max Cut does is it takes all of the pieces that you want to cut out and it lays them out on plywood and basically tells you the best way to utilize your plywood. And by having 3/4 inch plywood for all the framing and 1/2 inch plywood for all the tops would have ended up costing me more money because the way everything got cut out wouldn't have been as efficient. So I would have ended up needing an extra piece of plywood. So by spending more money on a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, at the end of the day actually cost me less because then I needed less sheets of plywood. So that's another reason why using 3/4 inch plywood is wrong. It's incorrect. It's a waste of money, but it's working out well for me because it actually ended up costing more by optimizing the cuts. So here's another thing that I'm doing wrong or incorrect. I am not going to be using foam. I'm not going to be using cork. And I know everyone's freaking out. I understand. This is something that I've gone back and forth on a lot. There is a slight chance I might use cork, but I don't think so. I think I'm going right to the 3/4 inch plywood, which is another reason why 3/4 inch plywood is works for what I'm doing is because it's a thicker material. So I'm not using foam because foam is very flammable. For what I am doing on my layout, I don't need to carve into my foam, and I can, where do you say it? Somebody just mentioned forest foam. You know, for any sort of hills or anything, I could just use forest foam, but no foam. The reason why I'm not using any cork is because, well, I get you're kidding about using florist foam for everything, but if I want to have like a little area of trees, I can just use florist foam to have something to stick all of the trees in. But the reason I'm not using cork is that this layout is an operations-based layout. It's a point-to-point layout. There is no loop. There's no connection over here by the door. So trains will go from here around to there. Trains will go from there back around to here. So there's no just, you know, continuous running. So noise, like the noise from my O-scale loop overhead of it just running in circles, I'm not going to have that kind of noise. So cork at that point becomes purely decorative, and I'm essentially modeling a branch line. I mean, there are some mainline areas, but there are, you know, there's no reason to, I don't feel that I need need the cork. There is no Freemasonite. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. Okay, so another reason, because reasons. Yeah. So here. Now I can't find my mouse. Yes, nailing down track will be a bit tougher, which is why my plan is to use PVA glue. I've done a little bit of testing with PVA glue, and you know, when you wet it, it does break down, and it makes it pretty easy to take stuff up. So yes, you know, some people use silicone, some people use construction adhesive, whatever. So gluing your track down is not unheard of, but it's not something I did on Riverside Transfer version 1. So I am going to, on Riverside Transfer version 2, I'm just going to glue it down with PVA glue. So if I do need to pull it up, I can, or I can scrape it up and it's easy, but I am not going to be, I'm not going to be nailing things down. Yeah, so the colors are kind of nice. I like the colors. It's the walls down here are a dark gray. The benchwork is a very light gray, and the background is actually, there are blue lights on this, so I'm kind of faking it a little bit. But the Masonite is actually painted a light blue color as well. So let's talk about one of the main reasons, though. All of the things I've said about 3/4 inch plywood, one of the main reasons why I'm using 3/4 inch plywood, and I'm talking to the wrong camera because I don't know why, but one of the main reasons is I have 2 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood here, and I know you can't really see it, but there are actually 2 pieces here. I have spacers, one at this end and one at this end. And this 3/4 inch piece of plywood, it's got a little bend in it, but only if you push on it. It is, under the weight of itself, still straight, still supporting itself at 3/4 inch ply. And the way I am planning on building this, using the risers, doing the way I'm doing it with the switch machines, it made sense for me to use 3/4 inch plywood to get that rigidity. We talked a little bit earlier about screwing the risers in as well. One thing I did not want to do is I didn't want to screw through the plywood from the top down, because then I'd have screw holes and all kinds of stuff like that I didn't want to have to fix. And my goal at the end of the day is bulletproof benchwork. And in my head, at least, I get that it's wrong. I get that it's a waste of money. But in my head, getting the 3/4 inch plywood, having the flattest substrate to start off with as possible, is going to get me as close as possible to some level of bulletproof benchwork. So that's another reason why I went for that thickness. So, okay, so backgrounds. This scene right here, this background scene right here is, this is kind of going to be my signature scene. From the bench top up to, you know, a certain height is going to be a bridge in the background. So it'll be on the background. We're talking just about backgrounds now. So there'll be a bridge on the background, and then there'll be buildings behind that. Those are all going to be, you know, like background flats. And then above that is going to be the sky. So my thought, and I am a terrible painter, but Flying Crow did a video painting clouds on his backdrop. So my thought was I would give that a try. So I've got this kind of light blue color. I thought I could try painting a little bit of clouds on the backdrop. And therefore, then I would have clouds, you know, at the top, and I would have background flats at the bottom. Similar thing everywhere. But essentially, it's going to be a little bit of a mixture between painted and various things like that. Let's see. I like the riser idea, especially with tortoise switch machines. I'm planning on using the DCC Concepts machines. The DCC Concepts machines have two methods of attachment. You can either have them mounted like the tortoise is, where it's like 3.5 inches high, but they also have a little wire attachment where you can mount them flat. And when you mount them flat, they are then only 2 inches high. So this section here with 48-inch legs has 2-inch risers, and that's my lowest section. And the reason for the 2-inch risers is because if by some chance I end up with a switch machine that ends up being, you know, in the way of some framing, I will have that 2-inch space so I can mount the switch motor on the side. So that's kind of the way to do it. Mike, I would love to do some projection. I would love things. Can I show one? Unfortunately, I can't. They're all up there right now. I can see the boxes. They're right up there. I have to pull them out. I'll do a whole video on it, the switch machines, just because that's going to be a whole process. Oh no, give me ideas. I like ideas. Ideas are good. Over-engineered, exactly. Yeah, so I'm not going to do latex caulk. I'm just going to use the PVA. My side framing is 3 inches. So all of the framing here is 3/4 inch by 3 inch. The way I came up with that wasn't that scientific. I don't, unfortunately, have one handy. No, I don't have one handy. They're all behind the plastic. The way I came up with 3-inch, I almost went with 2-inch, almost went with 2.5-inch, ended up going with 3-inch. Lynn Westcott, who some people may recognize the name. Lynn Westcott has a book out called Dennis from Otter Creek, Help Me Out, but it's like Model Railroad Benchwork or something like that. And there is a chart in the book that talks about how long of a span you can have that is unsupported without any legs. And I could have made this thinner, but 3 inches allowed me basically to set up the spans that I have now with minimal additional legs. So that's how this ended up being 3/4 by 3 inches, is because of Dennis from Otter Creek and Rio Grande. Ralph, why is PVA the wrong choice? I would be interested in hearing why. So the reason why I'm thinking of using PVA glue is because it will essentially allow me to temporarily hold the track down until I go to ballast all the track. And then once I ballast the track, which is, again, just more PVA glue, that will kind of lock everything in. But yeah. So yes, so all of the sections, all of the framework is 3 inches high, but this side over here is on 47-inch legs, this side's on 48-inch legs, this side is on 46-inch legs. So the frames are not all at the same height, but the thickness of the frames are all the same. And I'm gonna make the face of it look even-ish by just using fascia. But yep, and that's why I'm planning on using it. It'll hold it down enough. I really like Weld Bond, but I found it takes a long time to cure for what I'm doing. Is Weld Bond water soluble though? I don't think Weld Bond is water soluble, so I think that would wouldn't work out. So speaking about the fascia covering everything, I think I'm gonna need to have the fascia recut. I am rethinking a lot of the subway and how I'm gonna get the subway in here. And I think I had the fascia cut too narrow for what I want to do. So I think what I have will work temporarily, but I think it won't, I think it's not going to work for the final thing. So that's another thing I kind of screwed up, is I planned it out, I thought about it a lot, but I think at the end of the day, because of getting the subway in here, it's not going to work quite the way I want it to. And I'm trying to decide, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, no, I get that. I just have to, you know, I get that the PVA glue for the track might come up when I ballast, and we'll see. One thing that I can always do is use PVA glue to glue down the track, and then before I go to ballast it, I could use like a little bit of CA glue or something else or whatever. Like once I know the track is where I want it, I could use some other glue to make it a little bit more permanent. for the initial laying of the track, it is more important to me to use a glue that is easy to take up and move the track. So that's the goal for that. So here's another. I wouldn't say this one's a mistake. This one is still something that I don't know. I don't know what I should do. I'm about 5'8", and the height of the shelf over the layout puts it at a height where, you know, maybe if you're like a 6-foot person or something, you might just have a chance of hitting your head on it. And what I wanted to do is get some lights that would mount to the front of the shelf that would kind of come out and then aim down. I wanted the light to come from the front. But the problem, I think, is if I put the lights on the edge of these shelves sticking out, here I'll be okay, because the benchwork here is so much further out from the shelf. This one might be okay, but where I have the problem is this shelf definitely sticks out much further than this section of benchwork. So I don't really know what to do. I just realized one option is I could put a piece of narrower shelf here. So if I swap, see, this is why we talk things through, right? So maybe this mistake is solvable. I can swap out a different shelf. So this shelf is about 12 inches. So if I had a 10-inch shelf, which of course I don't have up here, but I think I might have downstairs. If I swap this with a 10-inch shelf, or maybe even an 8-inch shelf, then I could probably put the lights out the front and not have to worry about it. Yeah, I'll probably do. Don't you start. Using white glue saved my butt a few times. The track changes was easily removed and reused. That's exactly as well. Yeah, Andy, I do know that tall people generally have this ability to know not to hit their heads. Put a pool noodle on the edge. The issue is not so much them hitting the edge. The issue is more them hitting the lights, because the lights will stick out a little bit further. Yeah, I'm when I talk to myself, I don't always give myself the best advice. So lighting, I would use a triangular molding on the bottom outer edge of the shelves and run an LED strip mounted to it and angled downwards. So this right here right now is an LED strip, and it's one of the, where's my phone? It's one of the brightest LED strips you can get, and it's just not very not bright enough. So I would need a lot more light to just use these LED strips. So what I wanted to do was have another set of LEDs that basically came out and shot down that would supplement these LED strips. So I do have the LED strips. I've got, I've got a couple different, colors programmed in just for, fun or whatever, but I don't, for N scale, for switching, I don't know that this is going to provide enough light for people to be able to see well enough for switching. So that's, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yep. I know. I agree as well. So let's see. What time is it? Oh, it's 9 o'clock already. Is second section on tonight? If someone can just let me know. I don't think they're on tonight. I didn't see them have a stream tonight. So I'm gonna keep going because I've got a couple more items on my list. But if they are on, just let me know, and I will probably jump off. Yeah. So we just talked about lighting, people hitting their heads. So here is a big one, and I'm gonna actually, let's get this camera going, because this will definitely help to be visual. And let's come back here. Let's tilt this down, and let's see. Can I get into this corner? I don't know why, but the app that I'm using for this doesn't give a really wide, doesn't give a good wide view. So it's kind of not, it's not the best for this, but let's, all right. So here's another problem. Another thing I did wrong, another mistake. So the computer. My original plan on the computer, my original thought on the computer is that I could just mount a couple monitors up here and things would be okay. And that I could, you know, I can move this shelf up a little bit. I could make some, oh, they're back September 5th. Great. Yeah, they're interviewing me tonight. I wish. Cover the button of the top shelf with aluminum shelving line. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, to make it the subway nope on second. Awesome. Okay, so when you look back in this direction, so you can see my setup for tonight, right? Like here's the monitor. I've got the comments up on the monitor so that I can, you know, click on things. So my original plan was to put the computer stuff up here. The problem with the computer stuff up here is it's a little too high. The way you really want your computer monitor set up is you want the top of the monitors lined up with the top of your eyes. So to put the monitors up here, they would end up just being too high. The problem with putting the monitors down there is that, well, where they are right now is too low, right? We can all agree with that. But what I'm thinking I'm going to need to do is they're going to be a little bit too low, but I think they're going to need to go on the back wall under the desk. So that, you know, that doesn't really work well for streaming though. So what I might end up doing is, I just saw John's comment. Where'd it go? Well, John 2618 just said lol like the shirt. So yeah. I have too many trains, said no man ever. It's one of my fun shirts. Yeah, so step stool is possible. I walk around a lot when I stream, so I don't think that would work really well. So what I think is going to end up happening, and it's not the ideal situation, is the mount that this is currently on here. I have a quick release so that this can come off and go away. And I think what's kind of going to end up happening is I'm going to get like a small monitor for up here. So I'll have a small monitor here next to this, and that will kind of be my streaming setup. And then down here, I'll raise these monitors up to under the desk, and then that will kind of be my my editing setup. So I thought the bench height was going to work out well, where I'd be able to have everything in a good spot, but Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I just saw Andy's comment. For those of you that don't know Andy really well, Andy's got a head of hair on him. Very jealous of his head of hair. So now I get it. When he keeps his hair nice and long, it's the force field. Now I understand. Swing them around and put them in front of the window. The reason I can't put them in front of the window, well, can't's a strong word. The reason why I don't think I want to put them in front of the window is you can see it. This is the radiator here. So this can't stay here. The radiator in the winter is the only source of heat in this room, and it's either on or off, right? So it's either full heat or no heat. So I'm going to keep that area underneath the window clear of stuff. So I can't, I cannot unfortunately put it under there. Yeah, I like this shirt. This is actually, so I have a spread shop store, as I'm sure a lot of people know. I have a spread shop store where I sell some merchandise. I actually just put a new shirt up there that I got a sample of that I'll be showing soon. But I went on spread shop and I just typed in like model railroad or something like that, and I found a couple of fun model railroading shirts on spread shop. So I know a lot of people have different merch and stuff, but I just thought these were kind of fun, and you know, wanted to represent. Yeah, never get between a man and his trains. Has anyone used battery power LED strip lights? When you come over, Ray, and when you come to my place, this is a pan, and if I don't know if I which one? There we go. So my logo on the door here, this pan back here actually covers up an LED strip that can be powered by battery and whatnot. And for this purpose, it works out well. I don't know that I would use it on my layout though, just because I'd have to be changing the battery so often. But I do have some little ones. Use the VR headset as a desktop monitor. So are you saying I should use a VR headset for when I'm live streaming? So I'd be live streaming for everybody with goggles on my face. The room does get pretty hot. I've actually got the AC running full charge right now to counteract the hotness coming out of my mouth. Yeah, I know Dennis really likes moving cameras. I am going to put up some security cameras, you know, underneath a lot of this. Well, you couldn't see my hands. Underneath a lot of this here for doing like multi-camera stuff. I've got a bunch of those, what are they called? Not Ys. Eufy, EUFY cameras, so I can pump the stream in once I get that all set up. So I will have a bunch of those cameras set up, but they'll all be stationary and they'll all just be switched. You know, Russ, I never thought to ask that question. I don't know the answer to that question. And I don't know that I'm going to ask that question because I think in a perfect world, I don't know. I'm curious once I get the layout installed to get some people over and find out. But like, you know, there's kind of a, let me switch cameras. You know, I've kind of got, you know, there's enough space here for a guy. There's enough space here for a guy. There's enough space up here for a guy. There's enough space over here for a guy. So I think I'm probably okay with 4 people in the room, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I think 5 is too many. So Mike, technically this is a commercial space. I talked a little bit about this earlier, but this is a leased space. This is an office. This is not connected or a part of my apartment. This is an office space. I use it as my work from home space, which is how I have it. And so technically I think it would fall under that. So Jerry, who has been here, says 3 or 4. So he's been in the room. What I think I want to do would be 3 in-person people and then maybe a remote dispatcher. A 4th person being myself. The way the layout is designed is that when the over here, this section is basically just the end of the yard and staging. All of the turnouts and everything are basically in this area here. So if you do open the door up, all of the turnouts are still in this area. So you can still switch this area with the door open. So somebody can come and go while the layout is being operated. So that's kind of the pin. Exactly. Well, this one, yes, plausible hood, yes. Now those 4 guys are your size. Container Man, if we had 4, yeah, me and you and 2 other people ain't happening. Yeah, guy volume. Yeah, Andy, who's the other person closest to me, well, he's tall. He's similar in size. 3 at Jerry's size or my size. Probably 3 at your size. We'd probably be okay. But yeah, put in a movie theater and put the monitor there. I had one of my earlier apartments. I actually had a projector against my windows, and you'd put the you'd put the shade down to you put the shade down and project. I didn't have a TV. I just had a projector. So let's look what other things are wrong. So we talked about the monitors and stuff. No cork or phone. We talked about that. All right. So now we get into the important items. And these will be, I guess we'll say these are the two last items that I will leave everybody with. And these are probably the 2 biggest mistakes on the layout that you probably won't want to miss. But Wigwag wanted me to talk about the subway first. All right, I'll talk about the subway again for a second, and then I will talk about the 2 probably biggest major things that are wrong on the layout. So what I'm doing right now, for anybody that's wondering, is I am trying to open up the AnyRail file that has the subway on it so that you can kind of see it. And it's of course it's not, well, it works where it's at. So let's just show you where it's at. So here is the layout, and let's actually go over here like this. So here's the layout right here. And I will toggle the subway on and off so you can kind of see where it is. Hopefully you're able to see where it is, toggling it on and off. It is going to run under the benchwork, and it's going to be hidden. So this piece of track here is going to be shown or seen. This piece of track here is going to be seen, and everything else is going to be hidden. So that is going from over here. The car float is over here, and then it goes around, and Manhattanville is over on this other side right here. So Wigwag, does that answer your question? One of the other big things that I want to have here is this area here that is covered is kind of hidden staging, kind of scene staging. But if you look at the 1904 one train power station, it is a big, gorgeous building. And I want to model that in the back here. So that will be the power plant. You know, the story is that's the power plant for the subway. So I don't know how detailed I'm gonna get. Where is it? Where did it go? Luke Towan did a really great subway scene. The subway scene that I really like, actually, though, is there is one that NerdForge did. If you don't know Martina at NerdForge, check out her video on, it's kind of a dystopian subway scene. And I thought that was, I thought that was just really cool. So I might do something a little bit more like that. But I am thinking that one side is going to be an above ground subway station, kind of like the 125th Street subway station. And that would be on this side over here, which is Manhattanville is the 125th Street west side area of New York. And this side over here is going to be an underground subway. So, yeah, so the underground might be a little bit more dystopian type of thing as well. I did think about opening it up over here, but this area here is one of the main switching areas on the layout, and I didn't want. I thought about maybe putting plexi here instead so you can see it go by, but I think I'm just gonna leave it. I like the idea of the subway just appearing and not seeing what's happening underneath. I kind of like that it goes away and it comes back. Somebody was asking, am I going to put a point-to-point controller on the subway? Yes, DB Tech. I'm going to use the Iowa Scaled Engineering Motorman to run the subway. The subway cars that I currently have are going to be set up for DC, but using the Motorman will allow me to run DCC or DC. So yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it. Normal. No, not so much, but NerdForge. Yeah, there you go. I made somebody else read that for me. NerdForge video, I made a post-apocalyptic metro station. And I just think she did a good job. Pro scale models as well does a lot of kind of dystopian post-apocalyptic type of stuff, and I just think that might be a fun thing to model for the underground subway area. So has anyone figured out yet what my two ending items are that are the two big things that I am doing completely wrong, the big major mistakes that are. Thank you, Roy. Roy just posted the link. When we get out of here, go check that out. The two big mistakes that I'm making on the layout. The first one is I'm using Pico track And everybody knows that Kato Unitrack is the best track ever. And if you're not using Kato Unitrack, you're doing it wrong. And the other thing on my layout, the big mistake that I'm making is I am not using NCE. Yes, this layout will not be controlled by NCE. From the city that never sleeps, farewell, model citizens.
It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity.